Could you please tell us your name?
Aula Ming Sungrona. My name is Ati.
His Holiness the Dalai Lama asked us to record your experiences so we can share your memories with many generations of Tibetans, Chinese, and people around the world.
공사 초기 간줄라 깔로페야라 아니 공로 태워 초기 아니 미시기 냠용우유 중고 루규 dunzu 간줄이야 티주 지고레스 송소 아니 루규 dunzu 나네 아니 페미 미라 망고다 야 미리다 마세레 잠불링 미망 상메기 아니 시유라 샤그레라.
Your personal memories are going to help us to document the history, culture, and beliefs of the Tibetan people.
아니 아울라기 루규 dunzu기 나네 아니 벽이 게랍다 리슈 응우유기 아니 칸데 이메디 아니 켄도 용그레스.
Do you give permission for the Tibet Oral History Project to use this interview?
아니 다른 티와틸레낭 바지 요르와 디 벽이 나균 게랍 레귤디기 아니 베주 땅야라 촉첸 남기르와. Yes.
Thank you.
During
the interview, if you want to take a break at any time, just let us know. And if there's any question you're not comfortable answering, that's fine. You can just move on. Now, we have to ask you if this interview is shown in Tibet or China or anywhere else in the world, will this create any kind of problem for you?
단단한저 티워디 인지민지 티구요레라 케시 다린 티워티렌 체베 루규지요와 디페 갸나 잠블린 카와라 템베 예네겐 아굴라라 강이 케테이르베스. There'll be no problem.
Okay, thank you very much.
And tuchenans.
Could you start by telling us a little bit about your very early childhood and growing up in Tibet?
단단한 보고 주야라와 아굴라 보고 친지 집에 가려야 별로 슈베 가게 아니 루규테 송로 나응사
간다지기로 주주근은 다나 주고고 녹파 또 어제 담독파에서 가사래 녹파에 이바다 요래 담독파 이제 비싸더라 이건 녹도 보고 주주근은 아마 뒤에다 근데 이할 때도 차나 드레시 차들 다 이제 심지다 겨래 보이지 다 생각하는 거 하면서 이거 레카서 좀 치료 말이야.
So when I was a child, we were nomads, and since I can remember, I was herding animals, and I didn't do any other, duties as such.
Could you tell us about what you had to do, what your responsibilities were with the animals?
아니 심지 저가 두고 와라.
진진 백갈 아마 잘 심지는 저가 두냐.
아마 기념도. 아니 심지 초두가네 아니 칸데 스치네 초구유나.
심지도 가즈나 난 님이 뭔가 나볼이야 르카이 할 때로 아니 니우이나 르카를 짜가이고 사도 치우고 사도 나는 아니 초 그러니까 포럼을 좀 제가 짜자고 사는데 심지 세계요 다 쇼그제지도 파라지지 다 시제 요래라 어떤 날 세무제다 근데도 저수지 님이 군다 마테르 이 노래 또 심지 다 노래 바피로디 바키다 팀죠 근데서
So we took the animals out early in the morning to the hills, and where there were good grass and good water, we herded them in that area, and we had to protect the animals from wolves and other animals. So in the evening we brought them down, and where we lived in the tents.
Are you talking about yak country?
Semjen dunzon yadan didn't look
and sheep.
Yeah, sheep.
Okay.
Sheep.
And was there a big problem with wolves?
짱기기 딱강이 떼기를 왜 가로지?
짱기가 또 아니 짱기가 강이 떼기. 아니 gamka genka야 다 심치 가가야 뽑아. 땡가 다 줘봐. 다 거봐 줘봐. 된다 놓을 때니요. 심치 그마 된다 위탈이래 알아. 심치 그마 서도 뭐다 줘보 된다 거다니 그마 끊게 된다 위래. 된다 그 똑바요래.
Yes, there were wolves, and as well as when the animals were at their best during the 9th and the 10th months, we also had to be alert about thieves.
Okay. And how did you handle the wolves? How did you deal with them?
Semje sange changi yorwa. Changi la ni khandes chine changi kagi yoesido.
Shongkele da ngazu new the Tonato call get a car and go Pindo. Then it means Menda Jan Sale. Not all Menda Kajura, not so pile Matsore Menda Yuare, Menda car. Chabure Menda Kir, getting other Chushi, Menda Kogochi Maria.
During the daytime, if we saw the wolves, we would shout, and then they ran away. And we also shot them with guns.
Okay.
In our region, every family owned a gun, but at that time, I was too small to handle a gun.
Okay. And in the evenings, after all your work was done, and you'd had your dinner, what did the family do before you went to bed? Like, what did you do in the evenings?
Ta gonda semjen donju par so ge ta ka luksana pa lutsarwa en nangmi changma khala sa chini derwa ta ya nyeya ge tuju ta di para de la khare khare chigire micho
ta na so yakanda jinana ta chese dada chela jine chese tuba demba tel simche nul ter ni goma go lewa ndu tamchi goma go Any no Turgu Goma Yaki, any jot, any color letter, colors and also pile colors, Chabule Gomara, Cha, Itzombaza Kaza, Tiniche, Tata Razin, Chiche, Jaba, Jabaze, Tiniato.
So during summertime, around 6 or 7 o'clock, we brought the animals down, and then the trees were milked. The milk was boiled, and then there was the preparation of food, but the food wasn't very elaborate. Just it was tea
very
and
simple.
sampa and meat mostly. And around 10 o'clock we went to sleep.
Okay. Did you ever used to hear stories, tell stories, or?
Ani pugu chinju imbe kabla ya ta gonda stbala ya ta mi lo gem badinde gi dung dinde shegi rela.
That's the Purgil Chimera Pugni, she wanted to share.
No.
Nagala, Domanda, Samiso, the chat, and they Purgil, very she was a tad there. Then I might Yando.
So we recited the Dharma 2 or 3 times before we went to bed.
The Tara prayer.
Tara prayers,
Okay.
yeah, and that was it.
Okay. And tell us about how your life changed as you got a little bit older. Then what happened?
Ani tatanda simjen so dinjini shu de yorwa susu khaile ya. Ani ya langdu kane ani music khatu gyo joyo na.
Hello, Karzan, low, Gangdruk, to the Jetta, hello, group just as it is the new Tabandas and Yigishwarella. Any Gombazina, return Sombas, Lamas, any low, fully Yigishwat, any dead, and it's a no Dutch, the Gomatas, and Chieftain Drama, and Lamakin, Yigelo, dead there, not to pay that of Tanchi Maria. Lamazaki, you get learned, chief learned.
Gomba marwa.
Gomba Mare, Retino there, go, you get you at that. Tabas also, you get you there. But who you get you, then it's like Tabas there.
So when I was about 10 years old, my parents put me under a lama in a hermitage for me to study the scripts so that later I could join the monastery. Because in those days there were no schools at all. And then I went home like only once in a month or so.
Was this difficult to be away from your parents at such a young age?
And that lo choose na da lo chinjurwa dikabla phama shani tharangbu ta ritual dego thurwa ani kale khabu de jio marwe sa pugu chinjule ya phame chane tharangbu debo dila
Adu tete sembala kyomu da zo teni natsu pai mutsuze teni sembala bio tete ungre da akajere de londo de lama te ya pu chombu zo teni 제 자마 날 강가요 말에 루루스 가제 샤뭐 잠바 가리 키는 자지요 되는 라마라 야후 대구요 그랬더니 제 라마 그 거기서 전부자들 얘기요 이렇게 라마도 잘 나서는 답도 주지만 이제 소리도 나로파요래 이때 내용 거 진짜 뭔가 제 보여래.
Yeah, initially, yes, one was sad, but then in a few months you got accustomed to it. And the monk I lived with was very good, and we had plenty of food to eat. And there were also another 2 or 3 little monks like me, and we had a good time.
Had a good time. Okay. Tell us what was your daily study routine like with this lama?
아니 안다 라마 디자르 이기 장갈 페르와라 엥타 니마 찍찍이야 차 샤브이나로와 가리가리 지기래 쇼게네 체네
뭔가 다다나진 다 이게 릴루지 테레니 이게 조고래 이게 조니까 다단다진나 쳇세다 안나바제니 달노싱도아 텐다즈는 조조나 쳇세 주바 주도 셰가 제진 거를 되니 작두 주래 대디베도 농아 나보 이게 빼게 떠니 이게 조래 이게 조는 뜻서 되니 작두다 나서 그 농아 나무게 브레파스 약간 칼마스 브레파스 가서 나무티 노자한테 어때니 노자 또 차리지 되니 이게 진짜 쭈인 거 별로고 나그 뉴 나서 그 뉴 칼마 맞아 빼더니 이게 좋고
이게 장라나 로
이게 로 안 되게 다 나서 이게 로 쪼쪼라면 뜯기고 말이야 나서 바이크 잡아래 네 카가 로카 트레이래 제보래 로 트레이래 또 보시고 이게 로 쪼쪼래야
막토스미야스
막토 다 이게 노다 막토제 쪼쪼래
So our day began at around 5 a.m. And then we started to memorize the scriptures. We had to read them aloud till about 6:30 when we had breakfast. And after breakfast, the memorization went on until till lunchtime, which was about 12 o'clock. And in our region, we just learned to read and we did not learn to write.
Oh, right. Okay. And how after your time with this lama, then what happened?
아니 라마 디자레 로숨 로존 장 슈로 아니 디젤 가르총래.
내가 로니 저 소제즈 곰바는 잡아서 돼.
근데 곰바
곰바를 그 무슨 gyukhu 곰바제 내가 소 곰바 고마던 거. 아니 미마레 아니 곰바던 거 아니 잡아란지 야는지 잡아란지 되는 거는 제구자 로소제 돼. 로소제 무슨 되는 데메.
Then after my studies, a 3-year study, I joined our local monastery, which is the Gyukhu Gompa. It is Nyingma Gompa, and I was there for 3 years.
So were you quite happy being a monk? Was it quite a happy time in your life?
아니 자반남들 간에 기부이 왜 숨고?
기부요도 자반남도 다 뺏겨버려야. 이들 러 지지를 되니 잡아야 뺏겨버려야. 소판 소화도 잡아 모신 소판 소더니 깨보라 빼 맛이 깨보라라 내가 놀 제게 약고래 제게 무슨 소바든 나 놀 곰바 놀 아주도 되니 모바요래 잡아 비슷해요래 나서 아주도 아겠다 됐다지 되니 깨보라래 맛이
I was very, very happy there at the monastery when I was young. And then I attended the prayer assemblies. And there were also my meta uncle and many other relatives in the monastery.
Okay. Do you remember the first day you joined the monastery? Do you remember what happened?
Gomba Gyukhu Gomba laya Nyima thangbo drobe di tengi duwe si.
Nyima to punde
Kande dosina.
다 가서 또 뭐야 곰바는 잡아 또 부서그래. 부서지 때 가서 곰바 그 루시르 소파 쳐보지 그 카툴을 떼이래. 소파 쳐보 소지 오래라. 어떤다 그 카툴을 되니 소파를 떼 잡아야 싸고 곰바는 지래야. 는 지기를 잡아서 그 가서래. 아니 카다를 떼이래. 카다만 잡아게 양도도 세포다 하고는 안 손들이 잡아 이제시고. 아니 카단다 때 곰바 쿨게 다 나쁘자세 셰게다 되니 칼로다 된다 빼야 보자 되니 년반다 나서 파일 Nyambana te kadanda te paru tai pail paru komuna tanda yore la
Puro.
korum ta nasu
Korom.
korum wa tanda pail ledo tanda kogoma tanda tanda nyambate ta tapanu ya zeshe mid jatini gomba yege madeno te kelo ya.
Yes, I remember the first day. When a new monk was to be admitted into the monastery, it always coincided with a prayer assembly, and then we became, after we became a monk of the monastery, they gave us a khata, and then we were also given, sweets and things to eat, and then our name was entered into the register of the monastery.
Okay. What did you feel that you learned in those years that you took with you later when you were no longer a monk?
Ta lokhashi jita gombe na la shuya ra yorwa.
Je loksu je de.
Lang ta losum di na la rwa. Ta jongda nangyo di mitsila khande pen tho suwe sigdo.
Ta jonda no de de ta ta chung shi khande na te de di shi she de ta te di ge lo zu te gram zo so phai Mustang Unit, Nazo Norigu Lubal, Lotale Mare, Travazo Shake, Yige Lodging, Mustang Tani, Yige Lodging, that Masanasu, Pai Lucy Mera. It other song, Yigin that she said that she can't present that the Lutu said that the Kadiram was
My being able to recite my mantras now and being able to read is all thanks to my years in the monastery, because in my region of Nyarong, lay people never had an education.
Okay.
It wasn't the custom at all.
So it's about the education for him. So you were a monk from age 10 to 14. So what happened to change that?
Agula lo chune ta chip joksum chip shis pado ani gombe na chabarwa and di jela khari chungre sun
te tangani nga gomba no le al madeni da teni nga no le tsale do pa no ser gore teni no deni teni ta lochi deni de ram ta da dema go pala yalo teni no de peche yan do mando teni tan ta jago che menda ko che de pala chal teni do dera
Joma ki pala
Gyari Nyima Nyima chal teni no de nga do de teni tanda zani ta mase lo ni ke chawji pe to ta pai tanda zo de
Then I returned home, and I was home for about a year, and then I joined Gyari Nyima, the father of Doma, because I wanted to be with him, riding on a horse and carrying a gun, and this continued till I was about 24 years old.
Okay, so first of all, why did you leave the monastery exactly?
당복에서 지우들아 곰바 가르치는 샤레스
gomba kare te kare jare ta che yo mare a che choda jayo mare kasil mare ta te kare ta ni gomba no masu ni ni jao ja te masa no nga men se payo mare e te ta no le che namanda le shi zang ki se god so ni ni se ta ba ma te nga no da koval zuki da ta amal ayun ki zene japsi zene se zene ta ngam se pomere ta nga so pail pagin koval zura no guma su da ngoma patak zitali da itan da so tin si there.
So there wasn't any particular reason, but there were no sons in the house at home, and someone was needed to take care of our mother.
Okay.
And since there were no other sons, then I was the one to take care of her.
Abdullah, you mentioned that you went back from the monastery to your home to look after your mother. Was your father not around?
Aulagi tandani gomba ne pa nangla phe dwala nangla phe gyumse khai isna su amalia su chiktange mebe che ta phe rwa indika pia aulagi pala yo ma le nangla
pala yo mare terita pala ta yole mare jena pala yu chokhaga re ama kini pumu pe ni ngo chokhaga ama loka yo rela Naga ama toda kini pongo pe ni ora la. Ama ke pe ama de naman dora. O tege choga tege naga ama de dini ke tazani da aba ke kumba ni juze de aba ke nul jito nga ke chido zo ma de kul no mens. Ngaso nul mag penja chaba cha de ke to ke teni nga ama da yung ke zo de masa nga so ropa kwa ni je go da de je pa she na ta mo pa re do la.
My father had two wives. They were sisters, and father lived in another house along with the first wife. And I didn't see much of my father because he didn't stay much with us, and it was a Meta uncle, my mother's brother, that took care of us.
I see. So when you went back to your home, what were you doing at that time?
Ta komba Nepal nang la pa phe wala amajala en la kharit chen des
ateni ropa re wala tan rotu de din ropa de simchen dar zeng ro tani simchen so shoes nda zo de tani yo kabi ne yo che Gyari Nyima jalanga hucha Nyima pala chal ro de re
Nyima gi paba
Nyima kuru ta da dema ga pala Nyima se re la Nyima nyon ro de re.
After I returned home from the monastery, I worked as a nomad, herding the animals, and then I was also with, much time with the Gyari Nyima.
So how did that happen? Was he a friend of the family? Was he a neighbor? Like, how did you get to know him?
아니 Gyari Nyima 아울라기 칸디스 ngoshing이 직 정바 김제레 ngoshem바레 Gyari Nyima 스나 수레사
Gyari Nyima de nasu da pembure tara lujamse de tara domani palare
domada sugi palare
lodi lujamse yo Nyima to 좀 멋이지래 Gyari Nyima.
Gyari Nyima was our leader, and he is the father of Doma, and you would know Lodre.
He was like a village leader.
That the Tongsip Pala Kensugi Tongba Digi Pemburwell.
나도 그 너를 그 뱀부차들 비워를 등은 Gyari Nyima 찌를 그걸 내가 찌도 내가 제지와 그때 뱀부야. 내가 두바 찌래라. 다른 무슨 아지 버리 비반 두바 찌래라.
In Nyarong, there were 4 leaders, and Gyari Nyima was one of the leaders, and there were about 1,700 families under him.
Okay.
And I belong to the same village as Gyari Nyima.
Okay. And how did you come to become so friendly with him? How did that happen?
아니 아굴라 단다 Gyari Nyimagi 냠도 패디기 요스ungruala Gyari Nyima 아고 Gyari Nyima 딘제 가서 냠도 패대야 디 칸데스치니 중래
해자 다콜을 나서다진 파일 뱀볼이 잡신다다 로판다 나서그 답신잘 제요 무슨 당가서 파일 뱀볼을 잡신다다 로파다 뱀볼 앞에 마페서 들레테네 뭐뭐 같은도 로파 뭔가 잡잡 정하던다다 거다 고 뱀부 사카사칼 따당가 수거나 수준다 따콘도 그리고 메세노 가사칼 따안도 감셔도 던다누 데니체 요 메세노 담다 데멘데오는 던다 따콘도 던다저질 요로파도 다 짜로제 가서 바이나 로파다 잡쇼 뱀부 잡신도래라
So a leader requires many assistants, escorts, and he had about 15 escorts along with him, and I was one of them. And since he was, the chieftain of that area, he had to visit his, people and listen to their grievances and, solve their problems. So I would go along with the escorts.
Okay. And what kind of issues did you have to deal with? Did he have to deal with from people?
뱀부임베 차네 미망기 강에 가리가리 공기다 시경난 고기열에
강게잖아 다 가르잖아 누가다 저기 뒤에서 사다 저 라로파도 니만 누직 저 로파는 지자고 로로는 데다가 가서 지우 말이야. 다가르는 모모노 감시요다 되니 그 모모고 데디 다가르는 강나친 거다. 저기 자한 거 그때니 지금다 그 가르다 저 남한다 따교라. 그다 승진라진 성격이 저 답변보라 가서 봐일. 소수적으로 메시지 그 딱도전이 메시지 다 내가 동아자 저 이제도 나가도 로파서 투마레 이나 다 놀 제감친다도 지지 가면요도 가장 문진게 다든다 치고는 그 딱도 뱀보고 전도라 아니 저금 메시지 요 예마가 다 레동다서 그 녀를 자자지잖아 정거기 자지는 단다 지지 자위나 그 카피로 와다 다 뱀보고 감시시에기는 카피로기는 다든다 저야 가서 봐이 루시야.
So in my region, it was the responsibility of the chieftain to settle any disputes, whether it was among his people or whether it was with people of the surrounding villages, and he had to look after the welfare of his people.
Can you name any of the specific disputes that people used to come to him with?
다들 감주 간데 더우지키네 애니 수수변부 잘래야 다 강에 디키니 용그레스
감지되다 가서 지지지 단 두바 놀이나 다 문다다 두바 안 두바 거야 난다 다른다 그 감지도 못 되듯이 저러 지고 말이야. 그래서 바이비 루시데 봐다. 다다 안하다지는 다 자가 자고 그마딩 단도래 가서 바이다 체 뱀보 바바다지는 바바 쇼디니 쇼디 그르노 뱀보 되게 다 감시문나 치원나다 다 감좀 투파카나 다 자수 문디야 제즈나나 애니 요체 네세타디다 문다 세리다 다 문다 모바이와다 다 감시다 다 뱀보 메바서 좀아서 제테사 다 카르레다 벌써 야고저는 전부 디시에서 까지 전도야.
아네 미세요 딘레송베.
미세게라 지가자 운거랬더니 투파자니 운거랬다. 감시 뭐 운거래 봐라. 나마다 감시 우시야.
So there were different types of fightings within the family, like between husband and wife, and they would be like between families and families, and then there might be killings or anything. All these were brought to the chieftain, and he had to settle all the disputes fairly.
And you said that at that time you were learning how to use a gun. Can you talk a bit about that?
And dikavlaya agula thanda Gyari Nyima nyamdo pede gane menda jiyo songi ba menda gyab shingi menda gyabya jang khanda dikavla
menda ta ya shi ni ngazi chunjigu ni menda ga wable ni sumo chegira jodal jagre sharu shesu jagre ta ngazu menda te rusu jako go menda mare rusu so pesha training nyoni go ngazu pel se jitan ro yudile jako se ropa chilen ko mare te ro go lasha nyoni menda yoni go nyam 당이 납치 가줄래 잠도 추파잘 유디네 대 로스서 그 라차고 펩자더니 된다 진지야라면서 근데 지금 내가 지제께도 그 로파전기서 지와 말이야 로 담을 그 투포토도 때 카티도 때 로스서 라차 요라.
So right from our childhood, we used to play with guns. We would, shoot wild animals and also birds. So Tibet was a free country, and we had every right to own our own weapons. So these were weapons that we had purchased. And in 1956, when we fought against the Chinese, there was no outside help, but we fought with our own weapons.
So just staying with this time when you were roaming around with Gyari Nyima and talking to people about their disputes, what was your role exactly in this? What were you doing?
다 퇴주 디카블라와 아굴라 다 Gyari Nyima 냠돌라 야타 콩 단다 미망기 강에 돈주다 시교난갈라 페디두가네 아구기 디카블레야 냠도 페기여데 랭게디 카리나
랭게도 다 Gyari Nyima 잡신다 기와다 된다서 다 로파자도 제무스테네 로 Gyari Nyima 난다 뱀보체 보는 도딜 요 자유 잡서 지게 서도 닌가요라 다 된다고 다 가순다진 끝수나다 몸부터 시발에 다 끝수나 된다고 그러는데.
So my role was like serving him as well as an assistant, and being a leader, there was always a danger to his life. So you could say that we were like personal security guards.
Oh, and do you think part of the reason you got this position was because you were educated from having been a monk and receiving that kind of education?
Ta agulala lenge di raya di roa chikia dingon la ya gomba na la ya shuyo zayan chike yonten out your wala dina
mare tata ta juru so ngaso garzana pembu kurugiche semban roa da mo ko lasa ta gari ine rusu ta che ropa da kuru cha den de shun ze mas hagiche yote to da ngaso bai ka kuji da peche chmere wa Then the 감식시에서 하던가 이나 러쳐보 전도래. then 이제 요 도반다 거사던가 이미 벗어 러치주고 그때제 법로 군다 용게 되니 거락자도 강가 창수 용게 되나 전도래.
No, it's nothing to do with education, because there was no use for education in my region.
Okay.
It was because the leader liked and then requested me to come, and then when he went to settle disputes, he would take older people along with him, and if he thought where he was going would be a risky place, then he would take brave young men who were armed.
Okay, and Akula is very tall, as we can see. So. And it seems to me that this was an exciting time in your life, that you enjoyed this time. Is that right?
And 되게 드스디 ene agula trobo chungbelas tada.
Ita kibura, teki pe masinga ngaso no kibu. Karzene dizeno so semje meba ro tsuma yoba. Ndona dena zana pina sakana ndone ro so kachi pe ro tsuma pizen kito tsuma reva ro tsuma rese. Ta pe kibu yoba. Aso teki pe masi kibu de. 다다다 말에 빵 대디 로로소서 집 나쁘 좋아를 전부 전기 요 말에 즉 그러면 쿠시 너무 쿠시다 되는 뺏게 보여래 뺏게 보여.
So it was a very extremely happy time, we had full freedom whether we wanted to eat or drink or go anywhere. Tibet was a free country and there was nobody to restrict us in any way.
And just with these disputes for a little bit and how the disputes were settled, because we don't know really much about this. What happened when the parties could not come to an agreement? Did that ever happen?
타탄다 감주시에가라 피기 열에 숭야 지열와라 에 게시로아 감주디 딱다다 창맥이 많이 보이나 다 감주시에네 다 시에서 돈주기 많이 보이나로와 아니 가르치기래
그 많이 보이는 나 반수로 쓰고 많이는 많이 게들 다 뱀보고 같이 떠오려
가르치기래
다들 그루다 자자기나 가족이나 지와적이나 감 정기들 그 야자들等 뱀보구선도라 감치 나다 가서 그 파인다지나 감치피에르디 문니 그 감치피에는 나 감아서는 날다 뱀보도 퉁도라 다 뱀보렌도라 감치피에기 군도 퉁도라 아트니다 이바속이나 가속이나 무조도라 내가 저 파이를 뱀보제기 짜 제부도를 내란다 말에 뱀보제기 빼지치려 그래 나는 나는 자가이네 자코이네 시네 저 뱀보 말에 지금 몰로서 먹고서 그다 말에 나서 빼진게도 뚱마 이들 가르는 뱀보도 뱀 마시기 지치 뱀기가 파마트진다 되니 지치에 된다래 된다래야 뭐 어떡해.
So whichever side during the dispute does not agree to what the leader has judged, then he becomes the enemy of the leader. So the leader can give him a punishment.
Oh, I see. And what kind? Sorry.
Yeah, and it is not like here. In Tibet, we really respected our leader, and they were highly respected, just like as if they were our parents.
Okay. And what kind of punishment would the leader meter out to somebody who did not accept his resolution?
다 칼라 마냥에 지요와 다 감주시도 간에 뱀부 칼라 마냥에 지요베이나 콜레야 녜바 칸데라고 직당기래
아니 이바 제가 또 우기나 다 가서 기나든 이바 또 우려원다 이바 저보 또 우리 적적적래 다 이제 말해나 되니 이바 다 후지야 되래 적적래
So mainly it would be a monetary penalty.
Okay.
Or any other,
Okay. And was there much violence in your region? Either domestic violence or between families or feuds?
Agula kyunsugi lungbe nanglarwa tukpa mangbo shogru nanglola ta kangben mizang nanglo yimba yenere ya mizang yimba yenere jik zinga toya dabodine mangbo yongru we
ha le yongru ka Nemalazi tanga to kori so much pada yongru ta maroda ale ko shema jemet ko to pa yongru.
Yes, they were a lot, most campers are the same.
And were there lots of these blood feuds between families that would carry on for generations?
I think the wala ta jik di mezan digi mezan pajo jigi mise yona. Ya mezan pajo digi tsujo gi mise gi.
Yets me to masinanga to pai pe dujo tsere.
Yes, in our region, if one is not able to, avenge the death, it's considered really poor.
Okay, so it carries on then to the next family. So these leaders were very busy then. These were settling disputes.
This is the kind of people that people had to in the lega yoro in the parts who get a share to Yes, they was.
Sometimes Marianne. Pembol ngolo tam baba dazin shorty no kuzin the shorty in baba no suzan ta chito ta dan dazan anyori no datu mase seruzan pembol kanchu matin ledo mun no tongo yang no kamje pon ta kana ni sator bo santan do re wa dan dazan do ta re ta.
Yes, so sometimes it so happens that somebody doesn't agree to the judgment of the decision of the leader. So what they did was they moved from one place to the other. Someone from Nyarong might move to Litang or some other region.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I see. And this man Gyari Nyima, this leader of your region, did you think he was a fair man? Did you agree with his decisions always?
Tanda ta Gyari Nyima kamju sunga pegi yorwa tidugane ta aula kana sigi yorwa la ko thangbo yorwel
tombo ore da jesa mare kare aso pembo chichile gondize she jette tanda zawrewa tanda zaga mare kare khadu kaja kabu kadina napu kadina koni yewa shegire amse chichile o gapsu zani jesa tanda tsawa runi Gyari Nyima ga tanda zo thale mare Marian Tachok Shagre, Niba Jagre, Zanatani, and other Jamato, Kurugi Deza, Sid Yapu, Mena Yapu Resi, Deza, Sid Ducho Mena Ducho Resi, and Deza says a song of Lama, Kumju Kuru, Kazan, Kaja, Yongi, Shantu Shagre.
He was fair. He wasn't corrupt at all. For him, white is white and black is black. And then he also did not discriminate between the sides. And if punishments had to be given, he would either give lashings or other penalties.
Lashings, okay. And so, how did your life change from this point?
아니 디네 지네니 교학한데 스트레스 아고라 미치래야.
다 등원이 당아 너니가 잡지 빼도 다든다서 돼야. 너니가 잡지니 대 콘테도는 되니 다 콘테소고 납증 아줄래. 되니 배고체 좋다. 진도도 우리야. 진도 하고도야 다 진도도 우리. 이 등원이 돼가서 진짜 좋다 모르더니 다들 마시지 그거 야니마 공진도 운이지 자니마 요리고 뱀부쳐 보이도 거기 야무고 포트 야무고 또로산이 당가서 나지는다 랩제바 우선이 그 또로사 대랴 대다 자니마 그 야무고 lekka 창소 소마도 하고 주로도 이제 되니 좀해봐서 이제 라마 곰바 메세 소마되니다 소마도 이제 하고 우리 되니 납치 안날 이 알리니 자니마 그다 야노게 된다더니 주로도 이제 두포레젠 꾼 소아토니 그때니 나도 납치 나디니 모토치 좀 고추니 되니 투파자지 자니마 꾼 소아토니 된 차지게 메세를 요든다지 당고니 나도 당고니 나 너희 싸지니 당가 놀래까지 단지 쭉쭉이 돼야
Gyari Nyima gemi pembuchini 가봐슈래.
장월 돼야 요리 돼야 가사간도 뱀부 쳐부래 다다 받는 것이 밖에 치면도 이제 Gyari Nyima도 자기 또디지 거기 같은 돈이 고소 나중에 고소 나중에 나시니 나서 바이 배우리지 나시니 잘 모르지 나시에 따라래 Gyari Nyima 지적해야 돼 나까시 방을 받는 것이 치면 옆에 치면 도지 거기 지적 투파자셔 되니 다다 자기 또디 그 메시지 투파자고 맞이해라
Yes. When I was about 24 years of age, the communist Chinese began the liberation process, and since then, I was engaged in fighting the Chinese army. Gyari Nyima, was a very big official, and he was also, given a title by the Chinese. And since he knew about the designs of the Chinese, in 1955 he came and told the people of his region that the Chinese would implement the democratization of liberation process in Tibet, and if they implemented this, there would be destruction of monasteries, and the people would suffer. So
he told this to the Chinese.
He told this to his people.
Oh, to his people.
And that then we had to form a group to resist the Chinese, and I joined it.
Okay. And
ene khachirata gemila ya mogochi adinala akula zuirwa
그래야지
ene khachire
되니 나도 나두그 된 나와 배다 돈보는 되니 야무 진도도 우랴 진도도제다 제제기를 다 야가 또 해지지를 하는 거다 나서 배기 야무 진도도다 배면 다 좀아저지더니 디자인으로 손초 라마고마키 매바저 지금 거 줄으랴 그래서들 나주가 베이타 돈보는 된 것들이 되니 다 나서 그 겨울에다 고추 총진 그 자치제만 좀 자치 플로주서 다 된다 지구에 내가 좀 막 좁된 무슨 좋고 마우르 되니 이다니 그 돈은 지지그 차지게 나서 소와 돈이 렉갈래거든 됐던 걸 나서 그 되는 지저야
가 진이야
다저 보로는 되는 지저 대자준 주파자들은 지어만지거래 당거디 지지만지야.
So in the first Tibetan lunar month of 1956, the liberation process began, and when it began, properties were confiscated, and lamas and monasteries were destroyed. And at that time, Gyari Nyima had formed secretly a group to oppose the Chinese, and that's what we did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So can you, from your memory, can you tell us what happened when you joined up? Like, can you just give us some sense of what happened and what you saw and what was going on?
근데 gemila 징로ala en 징백갑라 아니 아굴라기 가리가리 시송 칸데 체서
당하서 지도는 cepam 다다 제즈라 니마데 또리 쪽데다 베이직 쪽데 내면 투파투데 때고로산데 멘다 자리존 잠자르좀 포로노를 다 자르좀 포로잖아요 제대로 쿠바노다 자르좀 쿠바노를 잠 자하지고 대도동 투파투스들이야 다 나서 또 고소 레브제 바다 모바자고 레브제 바다 제가 저 가자체 손님 소산을 내가 좀 투파투 투파티 내가 또 야리 로제다 진도 또 메시지 담도 된다 나서 반지 줘야 되는 건 이제 거기서 나서 먼지지들 나서 뭐 돌아라다 제라라 녹차 개본다 소리 뭐 도로 요로야 어떤 단 지지들 때문에 나서 이제 막히 투파다 때문에 난다 대리제 때문에 투파로스
당부 촌도 초대요래.
그래 손이 니마 좁디 손이 저 고소 나서 좀 저야 진도 또 이거 러지피에 담을 로준다다 거기서 텔레비전이더라.
So from the first day of the first month till the 17th, they were given us indoctrination lessons. And on the 18th, it was at the house of the Gyari. There were about 100 Chinese officials and troops there. And then a clash took place during this meeting, and there was a lot of gunshots fired.
Okay. So are you saying that this is before the formation of Chushi Gangdruk?
드디어 간에 주시 Gangdruk 우츠규로.
데디다 다른 진 제주 고주 마서 진 부 용어 말이. 데니 가서 데디를 다다 가서 그 요르 그 나와 납증 아주 그 배다 돈볼 지지래. 레도 그 배다 선반 지야. 데니 동건지. 데니 강간 지차야 저기 안비 저도 그 사살 제주 고주 사건 거 주디도 납죠. 나디를 제주 고주 그 사살 센즈기야 안주 저도 거. 다들 컴이알 바바 레도 션티 녀리 된 소마도 담만이 사건이 그 야그 라마키니 사건이 되니 뭐야 지론들 된 사산이 안주 저도 거 제주 고주 거 주디자 사 센트 되니 비야야. 제주 고주 제주도 되게 사 소아도 레르스지라면서 뭐나 제주 고주자요 말에 녀리 근지 녀리 소마레 사티 레도 근지 레도 소마레 션티 근지 호카 소마 말에 때문에 되니 너사시디 말이야면서 너사시디 하는 또 자글레하고 또 말이야.
No, there was no Chushi Gangdruk at all at that time, because it was in 1956, the first lunar month, that the Nyarong people resisted the Chinese, and the Lethang people resisted them in the third Tibetan lunar month. So each region was, defending itself, and there was no unity at all at that time. So after all this resistance failed, then people moved towards Lhasa. And it was in 1958 that under Gompatashi, began the Chushi Gangdruk.
They came together.
And they built the golden throne. And only then was the Chushi Gangdruk formed.
I see. I'd like for you to tell us a lot more detail, as much as you can remember, about this meeting where there were the 100 Chinese officials that ended in violence. Can you please, as much as you can remember, tell us what happened at that meeting, and if you remember things that were specifically said and how it ended the way it did?
Tanda di korla chigidu, Gyari Nyima kunju nangleya, ane zinga jitu uswa, gyami gyazi jidwa, di Nyima deleya, ta pigeleya, kunju lobchong teni mi changma zom de yorwa, di Nyima di ko nanglo leya, ane awulagi kari si son, di ta deshe pura kyoro.
Tata karzena, tata jamgu kajapshe shudi ngasugu, jarsugu, ta pinjando ke chi yuare, tata ko matoa tare, ta ko injetiku tsire, ta mukanga, mucheri chetse injishuore. Dedi ngasu nyori ko pembo lite tokchede nyori ko zu chondo rono se sa dono pembo ngai se se tanal mal ta loju ko je ni kehu je le ja kehu so ko je da ngasu da je loju da je de mo ko je ni ja zu go no nyori ko ta nyori tu ko je da zu go zo ya zong zo ya or zong zi yo zong zi ni ke mase nulu kehun do shore dagwe ta pembo kanga mena tsadi mase mere wa mase nulu zol hudi ngasu yar tsog mase nulu kar zana don zidig pa jadi ko toche tsawa ngachu nganga ni jadi ma go so to ni kajar zo tsati diri ngasu zidig toche tsawa yo ala teni te zodi ta ngachu ngadu go da tombo ko tsepa chobdi go ro chichi jeba 나가 된다 좀 군다래. 되는 가서 빼먹지 야수 차우지도 가서 개훈을 다 가jap시에서도 요래. 또 지집전이 야모 야제지 거야. 또 지집전 누자. 지집전이 거기 라파트 마테야. 롬 tutu yore menda shani ko lapa materi. Lapa materi teni momolo uluware, momolo kiata teni tupati tisu, teni menda jani kiti.
So during this meeting, there was, actually in those during that time, all the leaders of Nyarong had already been captured, and they had all been taken to the local, the district. Place, and only the common people were there in the village, and all the common people had assembled for the meeting on that day. And during this meeting, there was it was on the 17th day of the first month of 1956, around 4 to 5 o'clock, between 4 and 5 o'clock, the Chinese tried to capture a nephew of the Gyari Nyima. And when they went to capture him and de-arm him, he didn't give up his pistol that was inside his pouch. And then there was a melee and a clash took place, and then people started firing.
Any
kanchira.
Ya ce ziua de ya so problem de da ya ni ma ge jemi ni ka de no ku ba no yo de ja ge de ni ka de ja ge yo de ni na so mo ge da ja ni ge ya so problem no ja ze ma zugo no mo zugo no mo de ja de na so ja me ina le ben bo ni se jam che du bi na ju se tamaz ma se teni ti Gyari Nyima jano yo jag ki jano de ora ko to ni ina ni kasha charge dini ge Gyari Nyima jano mo se de ora ti jano ko yo di ta pembo de na su yo so no to je ina ja kanga so ma zana pembo manani jag se lo je de so na so ge jamo ta ina tu pa jadi pembo ni 세야데 다모함은 수 세야데면서 되니 마세데 티강감 주노모 또 더니 마 주제사도 몰라 이니 가서 야르니 마 마세데 그 근다 치투 니자 소자다 단다 야라 마라 요제 또 강가 주도 거니 거 다와 둘 자죠 지지에
종디 가래
뭐 간이 종 신이 거니 근데 다돈 지지 자지 지리 무와서 사르데 배 모습 세리자야 설세레 펄세레 배 마시 세리지야 다 둔지야래 되니 뇨리 사콜스.
So inside the house of Gyari Nyima, there were about 100 Chinese, and they were also both his wives. And then when the clash took place, we killed 2 Chinese officials and around 2 to 3 Chinese troops. And then we chased all the Chinese out to the fort, the Zong, the district office. And at that time, Gyari Nyima was in China, and we feared that if we killed every Chinese, then they his life would be in danger in China. And there were about 1,200 to 300 common people who surrounded the district area where the Chinese were inside, and we fought for about 6 months. Wow. Until Nyarong was lost.
Okay.
Any Nyarong sure
Oh, tradition jaga kamzi ni mal maje zugo no ni ya na su zugo ko de ko so bi tate su tsal dag tsal dag yor ta na su zudu ko ayo de ko so ya zuno ni ya da mo dag yor tate no samne su ni da de ni ma re ni ma ni re zia 되게 가서 사마고 하는 가서 요리 그 배 잠못 세야 설뭐 저도 쉬고 말이야 그 지진은 나와 나봐 누이 세지사고 되는 감지를 잠못 못 봐고 잠못 진짜고 요를만 자작기 잠못
간지네.
감지를 잠못 진짜고 근데 나도 그 얘네들이 다 다자리지 만나야 뭐마스 얘네들이 너 된도 잠못 진짜노 잠못 진짜고 하면서 되는 막거든 수막세죠. 되는 나도 그 요르 그뭐 마시금님 나마다 깨도 기술 만다 벗어다다 뭐야 보이래 만다 만다 흥아 만다 둘 이사오 둘세티 만다 찝찝지 메스 되게가 잠못 빼 마시 못 봤지 어떤다래
While we were surrounding the fort area, in the 5th month, 400 Chinese troops arrived from Kanzi area, and then there was an encounter during which 40 Chinese troops were killed, and we lost about 6 young men, and 10 to 11 were injured.
So the casualties are much heavier on the Chinese side. Why were the casualties so much heavier on the Chinese side? Was it because you? Well, just we'll see how he answers that.
And that zingni gyami shipju serwa.
Zidano, zipjimatu makori, zipjikoari.
From the 400 Chinese troops, except for 40, the rest were killed.
Okay.
Okay, so it's the same.
Okay.
타 배바 툭즈만 시시민도 알아. gyami 숨게 툭주 싫어. 디시디 간에 카투 이네게 타 징베캅레야 싱에 디 gyami 초라 망아 시기도 아디 카리나 숨이.
다다 가르자는 요르고 고소 우디를 사고 위는 그거를 지니아 땡기 데 니는 군케고 그거 고 빠졌자 세 대딩아 좀 요르고 가면 되면 세야래 대딜 맞고 뭐 단다 좀 쓰고 말해 근데 맞아 주고 요르고 뭐 그들 당원에 또 증기는 다 쯤 신기들 지막하래 대딩아 좀 단다 캐래.
So during that encounter, the people of Nyarong, they trapped the Chinese from two sides. That's why, the Chinese, more Chinese died during this encounter. But later, in other encounters, innumerable Nyarong people died.
Okay. And did you and the people you were fighting with, did you have any training in terms of being a fighting unit? Did you have any kind of army training?
단다 징예기 미망지어와 아굴라 남바 쳐자고 이견줄래야 지게 니년에 정달 잡으지낭 유나
나다가지고 말이 루루소소 맨다 이거 말이 저 루루소소 맨다 자쇼쇼 호쇼 갖고 지고 말 포기했더니 다들 지자를 잡으면서 아주 호쇼세 갖고 지고 말이 맨다도 약품 비시래 루루소소 맨다 이거래 좀 제일에 가리는 배대는 맨다 잡고 이거래 내가 빠꾸리 다치 보고문 림지자라면서 뭐쇼도 나가 꾸지고만.
No training whatsoever. Each one had his own gun and they fired his gun, and we had good aim.
Okay. So what was from the Tibetan side, what was your biggest advantages and your biggest disadvantages?
During the
in terms of the fighting, yeah.
징베캅라와 디캅레야타 베베 초지여와 딜레야 가리 캡산다고 지여래.
그래서 제일 말해봐. 설세는 벌세는 그래서 저는 다 자기 도포도시들에 다 때문에 나서 눈에 뭐 좋아 자자 세리자래. 설에 내가 로리 거기서 우천사 공작 세면서 가서 이제 잡았지 매야 됐다. 다 무슨 제오도래와. We were
fighting out of desperation. Otherwise, we were not fighting for wealth or anything else. So we killed them and they killed us.
Okay. And okay. So then, yeah, carry on. Tell us what happened then.
And DJ na 가르치래.
DJ 다 ngapchi ngak ped 파일 다 단제 대야 나투다 다 녀들 몸무 소마군 다 사코스야 장고 그장고 도차야
미망게
몸무 다 나투다무 먼저 니시제다 gyari nyima khatsu tsebi gama mutso sonchi tsezida teni ngo magga varya jang tsaani ngo maggini lakcha mateni teni rika pazi mazeni teni kuru mukhara mutsi ge ze ka chizmenki reni muda tani dzemzi chizmenki reni teni nga tsu lo ngabche ngabchu ngabdi to ngabje ngabdu teni tita dhatanda zi kyu kyu zingziye bezirya
So from 1957 to 59, we were resisting the Chinese, and the rest of the people of Nyarong had already surrendered, while there were about 30 families, including Gyari Nyima's family, who continued to resist the Chinese. So we had to flee up into the mountains, and we were completely penniless. Just men and horses.
Tell us about your life up in the mountains. Tell us what was that like?
나좀 좀만 놀래 다 너무 게임이 버거 좀만 쳐요래 나좀 년도 요래 근데 자자고 이 쳐가고 그다 좀 빠자면다 자리서데 자좀 많이 되데 다체 반우단 선우 뒤선우단 반우 뒤단다 살아가는 거는 거 되면서 돈은 못어서 처매야 그냥 좀 안되는 데다 고로는 이제 야야야 되니 중통이 이제 야 그냥 자가야 너니지라
Whether it was summer, whether it was winter, we had no houses, we had no tents. We were living in the forest, and at that time, the full families were together. Wives and kids were also there up in the mountains. While the men, fought the Chinese, then the women and children would be, hiding and running away. And in this way, we continued till 1959, and then finally escaped through Golok and Changtang.
How did you survive with food during this time?
나서 배박 심지 강가 고소 음료들 살아지고야 등걸 잡다니 잡다니다 되니 된다다 샤서도세 된다서 무슨 나서 좀바요 말에 갑구죠 말 샤토토 그전에로 솔 된다서 샤토토 사니 되니 저간 도와대라 손솔 갑자사요 말에 할렘바자 된다서 기투야 나서 갈래 배우래.
So we survived killing and eating wild animals, and there were also domestic animals from the Tibetans that the Chinese had collected. So we robbed those animals too.
Okay.
There was no tsampa at all. For those 3 years, we survived only on meat.
On meat.
And at times, we couldn't make a fire to boil meat, so we just ate raw meat. We suffered a lot.
Wow. Okay, so tell us about your escape and how the decision was made that this was time you have to leave now. Who made that decision?
Ta losums tindecheni ta shurwa rigaya ta thama dileya ta ngaju dende dena digi mindus lanene ta je dende sunang yidro
ta ta su janga tikka ta nambe desa mroya ta jag kasa kal saja kanga jag zulgudi ta desa chini mene dini yal ta jag yal de dini nasun zishi zeni yal gudeni ngapche ngardu ke peta tubanol teni ngasu go zatsu teme soma teni gal shorsu jag jiji ni teshi wala jamo tumo ba ngasu jide zo teni ngasu tishi zedi teni jag o budon golo gus amdo ye kongire so Gyari Nyima 사도는 되니 약 진내루니 소마데 되니 자송 소마 버게 게미 다들 진진저 세세 또는 가서 뭔가 쪽게 뭐하사 뭐 쪽게 무슨 되니 지야 마타리 소마 그랬어 세지 세레 진진저리 게미 세레 버게 세레 다 되니 가서 뭐가 아마 요아레 벤자 보모지 요아레 소마 잘 콜스즈야 다른다 자송 소마 콜스즈야 가서 뭐하사 뭔가 쪽게 타레 무슨 이거 싸우지 제 장가지 와서 너는 뭔가 쪽게 무슨 마타리 이 세지 세 소마를 쓰지 야 타우지래야
So everyone decided together that we would flee. Actually, there was nothing to do but flee because the Chinese were converging on us. So we were just, fighting and then running away. In that way, And then in 1959, it was the 6th month when we had reached the place called Gyari in Amdo province in Golok area that the Chinese captured all the women and children. Some of them were captured, some of them were of course killed, and there were tens of thousands of Chinese troops who were pursuing us. And from the 24 to 25 families that were together, only 18 single young men survived. Even I lost my mother and sister.
So he was one of those young men who survived. Wow. And so can you tell us what happened next?
아니 디네 지나타 미쪽기에 타도알 단다 초겨리 모린 다 디네 지니 가르쳐래
되게 가르다야다 조지리니 야 뒤지던 지시자죠 지시고야 맞음 되니야다 플로 치미다자 플로 사자 네발리 사자 플로 치미다자 사자니 되니자 우즈레 되니 다메네 담구투 말이야 되게 로로소소가 라차도 지더니 매바지 되니 자가서루야.
So we fought as we fled, and then at last we reached Mustang. And in Mustang, the Chinese were not able to come, so we had no enemies there, And then we gave up our weapons and came to India.
Yeah, I don't know. You think you must have crossed the Changtang, yeah? It must have been. So how long did it take you to leave Tibet, to flee Tibet?
아니 아다 파유샤네 수용야 들려야 두주 가지스 거리나.
파이전이 알고니다. 고노노니 납칭가 그 다와 님바체노니 디 알고딜 다와 주니바노데 다 자가나 어저비르자라.
다와 투팔라 데요라 초기아링 모리리요소.
그래, 데디 알롱카야 루시오랴라.
아니 진짜 변다 중니라 도저딩레스.
그래, 나 변다 쩌치바노 네발리가 플로 소카제서 치미다사 무제.
So we reached Mustang in the 11th month, and then in the 12th month we reached Bodh Gaya.
Okay, so all right, so they carried on from Mustang to India. And then he went back to Mustang later.
Right.
So do they have to cross the Changtang from Gyarong? You think so?
Yes.
It's north of Lhasa. Okay, so tell us about the journey coming out and what difficulties you faced on the journey.
근데 저 최페 윤두간에 최대 람라 공에 가리가리 중요나. 디 거티 송로치사.
롱카타 우고 자기지지야 대시오랴 나서.
대시 단다 디버도 송서 암도 골로 디버도 송서.
골로 메기도 사케스 홈 초카 마레베 대우에 자기지지. 근데 가사 간이 야 메사 포그 메레다 자 후지야 디디 사산 사고 차랴. 데레 가서 너는 모로 바다 제마스니 메레 저지 대시오랴. 다다 나츠니 거를 되게 지질 다다 대움 분수 제제 고수 금다수 고수 거를 뭐지 니지 저 대대 가고 가서 가디네 자전 지시 거를 자기 하 제마도메 정가야 루도 로바 세지 뭐로 된다 말에 니마 비 제즈 가서 뭔가 쪽지에 그 천문스 자원 자기메 된다죠 then dreams age the two dreams any then Haza de Rosomasa. I mean, Taji or not saying Zagi to so. And that Ganga and also that Ganga.
So we were fighting as we were fleeing because the Chinese were everywhere in Tibet. Lhasa had already been conquered at that time, and just after our group, then the Gundatsang groups were also following us, and there were days like between 7 to 8 days when we had nothing to eat except drink water, and at times we were able to kill a bear and then we also had to kill our horse and eat it.
So at this point you're traveling on foot. At one point. Yeah.
On horseback.
Okay, but they had to kill the horse.
And that was jail sen sarwa.
That's I give to Masu, that's I give to Masu, dream said the Ronnie, Zajiros. That's I give to Masu.
We were not reduced to killing the horse because we could kill a bear.
Okay, okay. And did you have to cross the Changtang to get out of Tibet?
Changtang and to unit to pay na.
Chongtong is a Nepalese word.
And what time of year was that?
Changtang ne pay into gane year going karina.
Yanka da Japan, Chichino. Japan Yal. Da Tubanonia, Chontonial, Achiko does a Chontonial word. The Chontonial Kadayal word. Da Jabba, Mother Gankayal word, Manan
Changtang la Pitigani
Gungar. Da Geba the Guba, da Guba Kaku, Geba Kaku, Geba the Guba Chaba, Zeta, Tosambuda, Pie in the Savage. Then Kazia Flushing Jasabe, who get the Tosambu Pereda.
It's winter.
Yeah, it was winter time between the 8th and the 10th month.
Yeah.
And the distance from my region to Changtang is very, very far.
So how were you able to handle the weather in the Changtang in winter?
Changtang le ya gunga tangmo shubji orwala. Ani khande chungsu, khande nambe.
I said, I caused the Tijimasi Nietzsche, Lil Zapolta, the Pai Lucide, Saranda, and the Sopanarita, and the Kijurams, the Nietzsche, there's another Chomari, Talik, Gaji, the Tiji, the Musin, Chomari, somebody, Sato, Chato, and not Sawa, Runi Mani, Dawa Mubare Sari. In each Hakuru, Ravose, Haza, Katujuzani word.
So we only had fur coats to wear and we did not have any blankets, just the saddles on our horses. And for months together we had no zampa, no tea and salt, just 8 wild animals.
It's amazing. From this period where you were fleeing Tibet and the Chinese were chasing you and you were fighting and fleeing and fighting and fleeing, this whole period of months it took you to get out of Tibet, can you try to recall just maybe a couple of incidents that really stick in your memory from that time?
Ola number 2, that zingi tugi pay ngorwa dawa mangbo. The tangma mangbo dine chungrwa. The tangma chikniji agulagi tanda tensu yona this songro nangsa. Candidate of its children. Manda Gyari Chachi Gyari and Chachi Shega Gyari and all Salsedi, Pulsedi, Pulsedi. It doesn't do any other. This is a medical Gadi Turuna, Nato to them, Shandre to them, say to them, Ko Dag Gigi Alnasu, Kandratani Gigi Altashura. Then Golun Z would not say I'll do the long no Koso, non can no to Tevaria. That is not so. That you do that. 남쪽이 걸어 대리성이 배.
농쪽에 골로는 알고도 농쪽에 돈에 집집 어때? 농쪽에 대화죠. 농쪽에 강그스탄이 맞은 걸 모자라 농쪽 bodyguard that did do
So when you don't know when you're going to encounter your enemy, so whether it could be morning, it could be night, and when we encountered them, there was exchange of gunfire for about half an hour or an hour, and some are killed from their side, and we lose some men. It was like that, so you never know when you'll meet them. And when we were in Golok, they dropped bombs from the airplane.
You dropped bombs?
Yes.
Oh. So when the Chinese dropped bombs, did they land on people? Were people killed from that?
남주 나네 bomb 유디가네 미시스wen스.
심지어도 뭐 봤어야 돼. 다들 장가치 매는데 쓰던데 맞으든 고로는 후지는 정보 뭐 배바 요래. 가제 세로다 장가 되게 말이야.
Yes, in Golok, when they dropped the bombs, they killed people, they killed animals. You can't count the number of dead.
And when you reached the border, you said when you reached Mustang and the Nepali border, you had to give up your weapons. Can you say what actually happened at the border and how the Nepali border police treated you, and how that whole thing went down?
The Mustang jorwala dikablian number 2 menda ya ta ya dewe tu songi bala dikablani candidate was chile Nepali police.
Nepali ngasu nyoryo mater somada ta nyeshin kyombu jodo jide ngasu nyonde yorya lamaje pachi toga ta ko choba suni ta ngasu ndajine ta cheze tushe molum zeni ngasu menda kanga choni ge chungu jare ngasu nyoryo ku menda chobje de menda chietemer Nepali mater Nepali temer sawo kumere kanga chon chungu jare 매방선 무슨 락삭 피부터 약간은 그런 락삭 피도 말이야.
아니 자명 단다 도지 캠복에 가리송.
캠복용도 저기다 조쇼도 되니 그러고다 다 투시에 몰로 다 나서 나지 뭐 몰로잖니 조쇼도 되니 가서 조조 맨다 제마도 조지.
None of the Nyarong men surrendered their guns to the Nepali police. At that time, with us was a very holy abbot called Jamyang Dorji, and he advised us to, that we should break our guns. So that's what we did. We neither buried nor threw our guns, surrendered our guns.
You broke them?
Broke the guns.
Okay. And why did you go to Bodh Gaya next?
And the Mustang dandalo chumi jazane bodga dojitin la pedwa dojitin la kharchene pede
dojitin using of you then I'm not cool using of the dinja that's like using of sani jamani then using of jao then da the cousin no neko dojite the down the chabachi then that's motomjin se sare then also rarazun manda chobje mzmere it don't neko ndo ta shobut ngotinda to using of bunja ta ndazani te ta te doje de luare.
We went to Bodh Gaya because His Holiness the Dalai Lama was there at that time, and we'd never seen him before, and it was also a chance for us to go on a pilgrimage, and all the family members were dead, and then we also made prayers for them.
Okay, so in Bodh Gaya, when you saw His Holiness, do you remember what that was like, and do you remember anything he said at that time?
아니 다 도지tin la perwa di kablani kamgur muchenge chi khari sungswe di agu thengi dwe
thengi har muchenge da choso kanga kanda chigu kable kanda chigu teni pe choso kable guzu da tenda zda teni da ngaso mandanda seti mandanda khetijeni teni chiti kongde da pai chi pa ru su sa su re chizi khone teni choma yigip teni da har muchela ngotepe da har muchela jikaje 다야로 모시기나 답이 사고지도 다다 강가구지도 소마데 그리고 말수 있대 나서야 된다 지 다시 된다 무슨 진짜 매야.
Yes, so we reported to His Holiness the Dalai Lama about our sufferings and about the dead. And then we made a list of those who had died and then requested him for prayers.
Do you remember what he said?
Kyangor Muchenge Karisungso Dikavlayama Karisungso. So at that time, there was His Holiness did not say much, because he had been in India in just a few months, and I remember that he told us not to worry, even though we'd lost our country, and then there were no schools or anything at that time.
Did you get any injuries from your fighting?
ane gamila jingdu gane chike me yona supul khawa
na da themani mo po maso na
no I was never shot.
So
did not receive any shots.
That's good. So what happened after Bodh Gaya?
Ani Bodh Gaya la pen ani regional kharachumina
teni Darjeeling la Gyari Nyima tana deura Gyari Nyima sogyarsu kosu Gyari Nyima su ngirsu na su jiju ya teni tana sini dawami sos de teni dawami sos de teni al lochimi jasa yarsu.
So Gyari Nyima had reached Darjeeling earlier, so I went there and was there for about 3 months, and then I went to Mustang.
What were you doing in Darjeeling for 3 months?
Darjeeling la that was some kanang be.
Karu de. Taga de den chale. Tedi flojo zaji da tan no al chi yum wala.
I just spent the days like that for 3 months. There was nothing to do in Darjeeling.
And then?
And Dijela. Yeah, and then to Mustang.
And then?
And Mustang, Lojimi Jazapin, any Karachungra.
Lojimi Jazapa moment, that she's good, that low dinsu. Penny, that long gypsies there.
And the Lochus Yagalochimi Jazala. That's
Tushini. Then she takes there.
Then I joined the Chushi Gangdruk army at Mustang, and I was there for 14 years, from 1960 to 74.
I'm kind of getting the feeling you'd rather not talk about that time in Mustang. Is that correct, or are you fine to talk about it?
And then Lojimi Jazala Lojushi Shube Tuzi Yorwala, Digorla ya Sunya Yona, ya Sungdu Mena, Kande Yona.
Ganga Chumele, we are Dinzi to go out to the Momere, Tamakanga, Tomare, Kanga, Hachi, Pichuka, so with the Yoda. Dotin, Domea, what so? Akasa Kagumadi, the Yala Sagu, Chimik Jasayal, take a logic to check training, share you.
There is no problem whatsoever on speaking about my years at Mustang, whatever you want to ask, you can ask, and then I'll tell you.
Okay.
There were people from all the 3 provinces of Tibet at Mustang.
Okay. Okay, so can you tell us about the first day when you joined Gyukhu Gangdruk in Mustang? Can you tell us anything you can remember?
Lochimi Gazalia Gyukhu Gangdruk Mamila Peberbala. Di Nyima Tango di Gor Karitensu and Sungro Nangsa.
Matana to Dojet Lille, Deadil, Andumubutashi, or Tui Hamutiri, Any Tata Gyari Nyima, Takoso, the Oslo Mogod, Tsujigo Koso, Charge Kedua, the Gedi, the Gyari Nyima, not so Karzeti, Tangasu Mahara, the Dingasu Lochuna Tuchuri. Then wasn't the Sango, more than Dote, 다 간다지 되니 고토야 롱칼레산 로이 때 먹는 거지 되니 가서 다 파이니야 누구는 뭐 쭉쭉 도시대 되니 자수 소마지 자 세거지 자를 이자자사서 뭐자사서 다난도 이제는 가서 다난도 지지야 되니 아무도 접도도 뒤 한무들이 고속을 세자로 고속을 뒤까지 되니 로모고 줄이게 가서 로모고 멋지 만들고 가서 마우사랴 마우사 사자디 이 조수 기우레지 가서 밀도 되니 다 페다 되니 텐데스 못이 페다 드스텔로모 페다 som바이나 제바이나 단다스 무이다나 텐데 다와 다쿠드 못이 단다스 무스웨 로모고 되니 가서 로모모 자질리안도디를 빼 가슈다 야 우리가 로소소 이게 시마레 레칼레기는 칼사코도리 까문 아모노다나 콜라차레틴 소마 찬소스 크기오는 티치다 먹고 몸 주디 양보 유지돼서 별로 먹을 수야.
So when I was in Darjeeling, under Gombutashi, then Tungil Hamutsiring and Gyari Nyima had planned that they would start an army unit in Mustang. So Gyari Nyima told some of us young men, would you like to join an army if you had the opportunity, or do you want to go work on the road crew in Gangdruk? So we were all young men, and all our family members had been killed by the Chinese. So we thought, I was very happy if I could get the opportunity to fight the Chinese. And then I also thought that, we would be provided with weapons. And I had no education to do any other work, or I had to do hard labor. So that's why I wanted to join the Chushi Gangdruk. And since we knew the way, having come through Mustang on our way to India, we were the first batch to be sent there.
Okay.
And it was in the 3rd month.
Okay. And when you arrived, what was the setup there?
아니 이게 로주미 자자라 저르와 인티피가네 파게라니 칸데 잡으지도 사디가 뭐야
까꾸지와 말이야 다 되게 나서 sabare 진이 이날 다디 내래 까꾸지와 말이야 나서야 싸근도들 여기 지지를 되네 게이시 바바 게이시 아이나 존주저들 나좀 돈이고 엄마 정아니 그래서 되니 야를 내발이 셋이 되는 사그다 먹고 자사도 사자도 다사 가사 갈 되는 고소와도니 가자시 간도 사그 대사 가로다 무슨 사자 내이제 로사 치매래야 다른 로사가 사자도 진도 거래하나 되는 게이시고리 되니 그 존주저기 뭐야 되던다면서 이나 나좀 저기 갖고 싶어 말이야 로로소소 또자 로로소소 그 고마워 된다잖아 넌 이제 무슨 같이서 주고 다디도 나 갖고 싶어 말이야 또 뭔가 손들이
There was nothing at all, no reception, nothing, we, had to fend for ourselves. And after about 15-20 days, Mr. Baba Yeshi arrived there, and then we had to start looking for a site to form an army camp.
And what kind of weapon supplies did you have?
아니 디카블레야 아니 멘다 칸데 때
아
천자 가리라요
천자 다다 로 말이야 다 단다서 야르도니 되니 뭐다 정아 니시 손치 집지 된다서 돈면서 보시가 나서 된다 뭔다 잠이 정도사로 말이야 자간이야 도시오래 다 무슨 말이 엄마를 보다 셔르거도 다다나는 야 말을 셔르거 말을 못도 라소도 다나는 야 네발이야 살우고야 우디를 되니 뭐다 니크제리 섬지제리 된다 존야도 존이가 베다 뎀바 자다 제바노베도 플로치미자사 고모고 주디고 맞아 맘메레 디디베야 정아 니크 되니 된다 존야 갈리 소토니 야리고 되니 나발이 초카도레지 치미자사 진돌이 치미자사 진돌이 카고테시 디니 야리고 Then you know, Sajak Desa the Luba Tuba or Zakazanoyal, then you are Kali Zoja, it is added to the Peck of La Cabo, Rusu, Peshana, Rusu, Zar, Rusu, Yon, did you shoot with Adi Umatalia, more good, Rusu, Zotu, Umaria?
Not then, you know, and first we had to gather people to be able, collect people to be able to form an army, and it was very difficult for, you know, groups of people to come there. So, you know, there were batches like 15 to 20 or 30 to 40 people that arrived through the region of Rapsol, and gradually, you know, until the 8th month, you know, people could not be collected to form an army, and then at that time we had, you know, there was no preparation, nothing, you know, we had to, you know, buy and eat our own food.
So they were really more surviving than training, sounds like. And you said Baba Yeshi was there?
Baba Yeshi arrived 15 to 20 days later after they did.
Yeah, so what was he doing?
Baba Yeshi Nyima Nishus Jela Lesu Sungimba, Hong Kari Nangiore.
Kako Yalgune Sajada, the Momokanga Ruza, Ako Yenagune, Takali Neles and the Momo Kanga Yal Ruza, Mogo Dasaga Saja the Kanagada, after the Taki Kong Gotreva, Akuru Chazi Kingi, Zawa Korea.
He was the main person to do all the planning there, looking for a site to start an army camp, and then he was also responsible for collecting all the men.
Okay, and then how did things continue?
So it was the 7th Tibetan month, perhaps August, that, you know, 400 to 500 men were able to gather there. So we went to a barren mountain where a camp was set up, but we had no tents or nothing, you know. And then gradually, you know, people were formed into groups, and we cooked together. So there were 14 in one group.
And Baba Yeshi, he was Gompa Teshi's right-hand man, yeah? He was the monk before, right? Is that right?
Baba Yeshi.
Lobsang Yeshi, yeah?
Baba Lobsang Yeshi,
okay. Right. All right, and then what happened?
Baba to the short tender dimachi, dinner yabu maria. Mundanga Nazari. Nasuna the Norio Mundanga, Ando Mundanga Zena. That another Gigari. That Mundanga Paichipa, Hukachi, Toto Chizo, Machi, Ganga Tembu Maria, Konga is a Deni, Amdo the Nori Nika Mundang Chelza. Baba the Shantin of Chelza, Ledo the Tatanda, Naring to the Chohudia. Chohu, then only Disusag to it. Then Manda Chapi Jeep to it. Manda Ringal and Napi Jeep to it. Manda Nikoli Jimos aged, Papuchi gear. Manda Gal Dapi Jeep gear. Talk with the good Disusia. Then it down the dozen, then the Disu to get Tata Society. Omog Lojo to some Peter. Amar Galata, Tita, Sagateni, Masu, 도저 Nepal ngimani ngapche re ngapchinga go ta audition wo da pa to are teni America lojo no ke mo ba suaria ba mo ba su da mo ba suare teni ko so sel go teni mo lojo sa go za mo gun zito da to mendam beto da sa bo lojo za ya wa ta yinal karzene ta chudu go za de pembo ko de ki teni tata zasi jahu za amanda Gyari pembo rere ki tanol minda Chushi ge chape rere ki amanda Gyal jape chi teni manda yekhel manda rna ta manda ze teni pembo ki teni chopa za de teni panani tsel gigi so amar gani tsel gigi da trchik dawa 가제이나 치바 치치즈는 이거 단다즈는 되는 게 뭔가 주의지.
아메리카 미르베.
말해 가지고 배반. 소지 약간 그 아메리카 소주스 그 뭔가 주의지. 주의되고 야후 제거. 되니 응거지 있어. 뭔가 그것이 이게 소리 그 Gyukhu Monastery 그 자고리를 놓을 못주자 녀한테 대와 또 로주데 또 로주도 전에 로주 나와 비즈니스 저 자리 되니 특별히 되니 아무가 글라차
낙찰래
되니 라차 엄청 노동이 많아 노동이 되니 라차가 되니 사그 모모 소마 라차 이거 말아 맨다 이거 말아 Manda vijja ke lacha yuar. No tchigno manda vijja ke lacha k. Tadri che lochi amane dawa ngaju ziniu manda vijja liu lacha ti to yuar. Ta mtu tenda America ke ta te su lacha to no ni pier.
So then batches were formed. Batches of 10 were formed, and it was a mixed group. It was decided that the batch would not consist of people from one region, so it was people from different regions like Baba, Chating, Nyarong, Amdo, everyone, were mixed up and formed groups, and each group had its own leader. Like there were leaders for a group of 10, group of 20, and groups of 100. And then some men were sent to the USA to receive training in 1960, and when they came back, then they were the ones who gave us training. And I think it was in 1961 that the Americans dropped weapons for us through airplane, and one airplane load carried weapons for 400 men, and in this way, 3 airplane loads were of weapons were dropped for us, and then these 12 men who returned from America were the ones who gave us training, and 3 of them were, assigned to 100 to teach 100 men.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did it affect morale with the dropping of the American weapons?
다 아메리카 남중에 천자 유로 락자 유로 비유디 간에 아니 다 망미 돈줄이야 정확하게라고 시키나
저와도 배 맞이 있게 보내 락자 유사도 베이 사자로 유어 복 사자로 유어 근데 나도 복 사자로 이제 답변도 쳐잖아 나도 그 베이 사자 락자 근데 버리 nd는다서 유는 야모고 먹어도 많이 나다 요 말이 디야제는 또 먹고 쳐보죠 약 먹고 그 야노 토도면서 되는 토로 유사매 대동로 유대 나서는 라사 그지고 말이야 다 모두고도 다 라사 보고서 나서 뺑온도 요래 이나 다 마음 좀 나서 가르잖아 다 라사 유대 다 크다 크지 라사 짱이 때문에 제미 때문에 아메리카 라사 필 무리니 라사 크죠 나도 당가 크죠 아메리카 다디하고 좀 Then also Kanga Mauje, Yamu 어떤 데서 배 저보다 라서 우차디도 되는 거죠. 배 마식 semba tipo gaso. 다체 할리아 당원에 되니 가보 좋아해.
Once the weapons were dropped, we were extremely happy, and the weapons could not be dropped into Nepali area because there was no enough space. So the weapons were dropped in Tibetan territory, and we had to go there and get the weapons. And close by was a Chinese army camp, so we had to be careful that they did not seize the weapons from us.
Right. Okay, and then what happened?
Ani karchira.
Okay, last late Saturday, then last chance late Saturday, no, Manda Vijja Tomba. Any yal, never Tada, so more good desert or ya, the no yal, Manda Vijja the yal, big sag, Samsung Mama, no yal, Zakuru Kutandan, Manda Vijja, any Lachakan yal, and then Yaman Daja Sag, Chazuki, then no Shagayal, Mogomana, no joining, also Manda Vijja, then yal search, yal soon Samsung, dead, that's Samsung. Then you mata rishik in Yamami Sushi, then you put big Sajal, the Takundo shoes, Takundo, the Hakondua, Takundo, Tatashi, Jamu Children, Jamu Mogo Kana, Jamu Sajak, big Sajal Canadian, Mogon, Mamoni Kang. That is it, then you close the Saturday. America saw a leka, the Kanga, Lasta Page, Lasta Judy, how one Zito dance it, or more chance of close the Saturday. What then also the Napoleonic? Then it done. Any Tanamala or Tichik Dawa is a number called that says in Dawa Tubazias, no, you got 10,000. Any not so Munda Tada Gigipan closures that serving kid in your case of the Jizzy. So Dahu did Dapi, that Gigi. To the thing, also put Munda Christian Daches, John Tupel, Gyari Dajas Arotani, Zawati, there's a recall penny, John Tupel, Tachi, Zapchik, Russo, the Lachak in the Sury, Taiwamani, Kakuomani. It need Dajas Amaro, then also Nimachima, Jakanan, the Tamana, Soba, Jan, Soba, not so Mundasi. Not the Nasu Norio Gigi Kesu, that is a Girani, wants to Japi the Nisa Sudma, Jag Suzashi, Jamana, Jaguar and Kanda is the Jab, Kosuyan with him cheap, Jam does not shoot it, not so Lonka or Guni. Imani Madame Nigu, Tati, Jam Nasi, Jam Nasi is in Jab Shed Rusa Setos, Jachi showed Pale Shoni, Memaria, Tagu Mani Menda Romaso.
So the 400 soldiers there were sent into Tibetan territory, and we went there, and to learn about where the Chinese had formed their army camps and how many troops were there. And at that time, we had been fully trained. And I'm not sure, but I think it was in the 6th month of 1961 that Nyarong Kesan Doji, who was one of our teachers, having been trained in America, he and a few of us went towards Changtang area, trying to scout around and then to attack any Chinese camps there. Unfortunately, we encountered the Chinese. There were 5 Chinese soldiers that day, and we were armed, and so we were able to kill 4 of them, and 1 was injured and escaped.
mi pajamu kyamni ngachi de teni big salto tatyan teni ngasu taiwale tatyani tanyoni america tanyo sheto ta za jin tujin soma da te ta da zeni teni ta yule 짬링아 징아치데 사사고 중부 요와 사사 중부 다 네발리 사토니 발레 중부 도나면 주시고 중부 파카르 책 다투니 파카르니 데니 모타 구리고 데디 모타 카마수 나타토 야도노르 야 정안이 그래서 무시와 말이야 야 정안이 그래서 세 다도 뱀부 쳐보죠 야 뱀부 쳐보죠 세 데니 야노 그 다치제데 짜치제데 접촉자와 짜치 사바디 띠리알 조제를 다 뱀부도 그러다 짜치도 어내서 뜻다 아메리카가 또 모신 님바는 나가 내서 로만 뉴스에 지금 내서 아프지 로마서 그 도주로
내수 가래.
내서다 그 야노비 차지고 내서 아소하고 내서 중원에 들어가요.
So later, it
가지
was
쏟아 양가지
in the around the 10th month. There were many of the training teachers like Litang Ragra and many of them. We were about 51, and we were on horseback, having crossed the Hasa River Tsangpo, and we ambushed 3 Chinese vehicles and burnt the vehicles in which were 15 to 20 Chinese troops, and there was also one very high official who was killed, and we were able to get a very important secret document.
Okay, I know about this particular ambush. It's quite a famous event. It's very fascinating that he was part of that. Maybe you can tell him.
Gamiki Garisums Mevisuya, Dicola, Mora Conyosa, and it Agula Kirandina Yoroala, Halibudu, Samara.
Tatamida Jazano, Nima Janga says that the Nidam Lord. The Gisela, he said the Hamburg, the Gigil more, the Gisela. 다와 가나르고 올해 되게 슬로모를 럭지레사데 대미엘세노 따라서 펄 존토 빨때 뭐뭐바 도시오래 나 따빠리신 로고래 나 로기셰 가르즈는 나뭐 로코로 왔다야 말했대 계속도 지지다 아메리카도 뭐그 차지도 뭐그 가는 거 따게래 되게 나다 요포제는다 잡시제는다 계속도 지 로파나리야 근데 뜻이 나 로데데니 자세리 사자도 다 나를 파이스나 사자도 베이그 사자도 나서 로사고도 베 기오래 사자 기오래 내가 딱 봐 리신도 주고래 약가 양어 리리는 맞다 쯤 전화도 딱 봐 리신도 주고 대 로파만다 나리 소리 단 잠모되지래 뭐 와트 주고 말이 다 지금 모디 뭔다 저 전화 대안 친도 주고 말이 단다더니 딱 봐 리신도 주고 알아 된다 전제딜 근데 지마 나주 용 되고 선노모래 요다와 다다 제발 갖고래 요 좀복 바가 가주 니마가 라는 거 손으로서도 용 아주 땀니 집지제 나주 내가 그러잖아 요도노를 용 아주 좋아해 못자 구사 소리 고마미 때나 남까 그래 못자래 마수 못자래 무기들 소부츠간 쓸루지 때리 되게 구이제사도 리아제사고래 좀 백사자리 등우 위들이 되게 잠 다다 쪼세기
주세요.
쪼제지도
아네.
잠이 쪼세기고야 잠을 잡고지
아, 깡라나 탄다 센제니 숨고.
숨지데 땅나다 지와 나 쪼나다 찾아봤다 나 로도기다나 뒤야 쪼제데 쪼 잠이 쪼가사그야 쪼세기고 너요 뜻증 심지어요 무슨 바이고요 요 너빠고요 샤기사 어요 뜻증데 잠을 잡고지 또 뭐나 루바즈로 된 당아서 파가니 가디 자사 로마스 가디 마주 쯧부티 되니 코도 요사할 거스 내가서 동거 잡아 몸 다니 몸 손치 소도지 힘에 징게제데 되니 하고 말이야 가제지 음식 담도 대로 용아서 맨다다니 그 진짜 수대스 맨다다니 거요 뜻제데 가서 대저로스 요 뜻제 되는 가서 뭐먹을 때 대려 가서 다 자기고는 자 어떤 나즈니 다
So I took part in several encounters, and I used to go to the Changtang area many times, because I was serving as the assistant of Khyasang Dorji, who was trained in the US, and he was engaged in finding information and scouting around the areas. And I was in fact familiar with the Changtang area, which is very similar to my region. And the following year we crossed the Changtang once again. It was in the 10th month, and we were waiting for Chinese vehicles to pass, but none passed. And but we saw about 100 Chinese soldiers, who were there to kill wild asses, Tibetan wild asses, and they also had about 60 yaks with them. And we attacked this group, and the encounter went on for about 3 hours. And in the end, we don't know the exact number, but about 30 odd troops were killed, Chinese troops were killed, and we were able to bring all the 60 yaks back to our camp.
The 60 yaks back to the camp. That was a good day. Okay, anything else you'd like to?
Any tukju tamba changma chu thetur wa
He has more to say.
가르치래.
Any thing mazda logo betariyo. Ngaring ini yale mapun so mapu zesanita. Tim so mapu yuala. So mapun ni any little yale dajani ke. Ta simchen angol dajani. Ta ngaso lo le zaju kanga kembura. Ni yale ta chato kodo le simchen gol dajani mo dajadi. Ti tono liu se jagi jide zo ni ngaso manda ni ta ni so se khoti mo de gya d'après quand ils inquiètent to liu mo ti se so ti meso ta che meso de to ta ji to ti palice gal kada to hakomasu da jo mena Gyari Nyima ka se si u de palice ta hakomasu se ta da chuare de ze jijile ayo ta da ni 자때 타리 타라 뭐가 투야래 다다 발세 셀세 된다지 되게 지질러 그치 렌나 이게 레드이 다더니 텐데스 뭐거든 텐데스 놀려요 레도 텐다 생겨도 고수 만다 나가 아메리카 그 맞게 지고 저도 살수 편하게 ko zero le America ga nasul ropa chenkit mare America ga sopa jinguni ta saja ta uke ta ta suwa ga lekale kizgua ko su ga to su pana sansu pale teni jamke le jaja san do de ni ko su manda ngai wa manda de ta chodu persu chodu pal rati ta jamke motor local suni tenda ze ki de to mare ma se no lo ko je ko no le mare pe ma se mu ci ku la ma ku ju mare ta ngoma America gi du do so ta che la sa ro pa ki su isa da no me sis ma ro mi so ko gu de gajo ni wer gajo ni ko to mo da de mu ci wa mare gajo oni di go na da mo da de gajo America padja ke yo ke mal padja ko so mana jaja gato ni de meta to no jamo mo was mouse jamo chete zolo mo sa chete chapche zolo sa ha to mo se ri gati kanga se meta to mo se lacha ke nga so mo da chi me shao ji pa ji me what da zini di wo
te kale sumbe America par yange de suru sumbe
아메리카 그 첫번째 시하 먹어. 지마리 나서 아메리카 그리고 배까지 로아리 저도 누나들 고소 소하고 때디가서 아메리카 글라스도 소아서 쇼냐. 다들 요저래 무슨 이만다서 소아서 쇼냐.
아니 미들라 보라 대시 갸브르 아메리카 미들라.
더니 다저 아메리카 글라스 이지 고소 이게 오라 라스 이게 강강 라스 강강 이게 고소 하고 거야. 이제 아메리카 뭐 있어. 나도 로빠전 그 소파도 많이 Then you pursue the Zombling go you put you because of Congo did it. Partia, Mortar, Partia, Manda, the which is in the Jima America, Ayapuri and Grisina, Chosen Manda, Dig, Manda, the music, Gadi, or need to know Jakaze, which I go to the Jadid, Yapu Marez, and after the whole Sharia, that's the Zen, Gadi, and that's the same, was it? One more Jamu.
So many attacks took place on both sides. In Ngari near Mansarovar Lake, at one time the Chinese troops attacked Tibetans, and 3 Tibetans were killed. And I have no knowledge about how many were killed on their side. And in 1965 or 66, one American person came to our camp, and he was a photographer, and we didn't know whether he was a secret agent or a journalist at that time, and we thought that he might be among the those who were helping the Tibetans. And there was one person called Litang Tendar, and he and his men, they went and ambushed 2 Chinese vehicles, killing about 10 soldiers, and then they burnt the vehicle. And all these were photographed by this American agent, and this was published in many newspapers around the world. Perhaps you would have known about it. And then later we were told that it was not the right thing to do, because they were just 7 men, and they had no knowledge of how many men were there in the 2 vehicles.
Do you remember the name of the photographer?
The America pargyang di ming khenge yona.
See, Chaga, the Diga to the Hago Maria, see, they should go.
No knowledge who he was or why he was there.
Okay. Yeah.
That the Gigil touch you read the long of the Tenu, Masu, Damin and Naching Dal Jazz, the Pal Jazil in the Jag Hakon in Southern Gurajani. They depend now, Maso, Dupozos, Jansen Gurajani, Masu Jamming up. Money tell you, don't know not child, Manda Gypsy, Manda Gypsy, Jago, Mana, you saw the Sasuni Jago, and after Jago, the bear, the Jag, more God, Chushi jingle, more God, Chushi to go not to Jajil, Dory. Tell it up more God, the Yosa, the Namu in our town, Tandonigo, more God, Hago, Tajima, Rodin Masun, Rodin Tasuni Jag in the Tidding in our Rungol. Munda chieftain draw. No much tribal and draw Sajana super big subset. Tando did the Jaga Hagoni, so Gurajani, not so Munda chieftain. No much tribal, Jago 2,000 pages and Menda Jags. She said, Juni the Shagabe, not to Shatama, so Neta just there also Agro. Munda Runa, Dana, just there also.
Aleminga Tanga.
Go Laksan, so much. That the people gather come and see it, I just isn't paying my level.
It was in 67 that as 14 of us went to attack a small Chinese camp, but we were to attack them the next morning, and they came to know about it. But they ambushed us, and then there was a fight from 6 o'clock till about 12:30, and during this encounter we lost 5 men and 5 horses and all our weapons, but we were able to kill some Chinese then.
This memory is amazing, absolutely amazing. Any?
And so I will so I will understand it. That the only adversary, that the only adversary, or the beach, the colony country, so I will like a nervous help, nervous no Sumunda, just as it, nervous help.
Nuru.
좀 너브르지. 좀 너브르. 이제도 네발이 살이 좀 너브르지 사도. 인포토니. 얘들아 빨아 데데레. 아빠랑 이제 렉처를 다 주거든. 오늘 쓴다다 장가다 치다. 다른다 렉처 소화 렉처 주주래. 근데 대지 말에 배가 하나 돼.
Then later, Gyatu Ongdu and Gen Yishi lare.
뭐래 게시다 돈이 전지야.
Ale.
레루도 또 온디야 또야.
So later, Gyatu Ongdu came there to assist Gen Yishi, and they sent me to Tsang Nuri, which is in Nepali territory, along with 10 other men, and we were given the task of gathering information and scouting around the area. So in 1974, the Nepalese destroyed the unit at Mustang, and they took away all our weapons.
The Nepalese destroyed the unit.
The Mustang Unit, yes.
야가가 산수 제가 라는 거더니 네발이 구구라자지 맞소. 야또 오늘 배우는 나세요.
다도 온두세레.
그래? 야또 온두세레. 네발이 우세. 다디 댄스 토마토아리. 그것도 뒤에 약적어 차네. 자로페 마시코 되니 나서 뭔가 쉽지 제니오 쉽지 제니노 민다 나세고.
And many of our leaders of the unit were captured and imprisoned by the Nepalese, and Gyatu Ondu was also going to be captured, but he managed to escape but got captured near the border, and he and a few of his assistants were killed, and we also lost about 70 horses and mules to the Nepalese. And from the 42 men that were there, 37 managed to come to India.
Why did the Nepalese suddenly turn on you?
아니 네팔리든 중에 아니 가르치는 딘디치에 딩건을 지기요 말와.
원래 네발이 살대로데 네발이 살다다 양의 대부세서 고수 농주꾼이 세서 더더가 아바드 체는 가서를 배발로 로파전이 사샤야 아래 다 아바드 현로리 다와치 말에 군이 힙버드 되니 라차 강강 추티 네발로 모함 데마치 된 네발이 마시 되니 가서 배발 도포도 되니 자또 원디 랑카로 구 아주 지상을 자가서 유상을 구마체 맨날 잡세 다든다지야 다다 네발이 냐도 뱀부 될까 세서 자투강가 세서 어떻게 어떤다지 되니 나서 로몽고 또 매바도 좋았어요.
Our army camp was established in Nepali territory, and it was the previous king's father, the king whose whole family got killed, that king's father had given the territory to the Tibetans, but after the father's death, the son then destroyed all the unit, and then Gyatu Ongdu was shot dead.
And at what point did you receive the audio message from His Holiness Dalai Lama?
Yeah, Gyamgur Rinpoche any ma kalop chinang yorwa. Di kable ani kalop di khadu yagela joryuna.
Kaza rosam jode nga tu Nepali ko mom jidja tomba. Mom jidja ka za mom tungzhong ni tungzhong song tungzhong jiwe. Nepali ko tungzhong ji lo mo ko ga la sa de. 真我的研究过的了，他俺做一那没这里，大多我的资料一，他这没这里套这里，我们有做过相当于叫做白木做过这嘛，俺做这个没这里10几亿这里，等你买这的，等你有时候不个哎呀了，等你都他说改善我了，这里个super配偶着，这拉下这手子，那把你拉下这手，咱你出把买这些，这拉下个今年啊这手。 가고 네발리 라차 테즈 같이 zon에 말이 라차 테즈 때니 메시지 투파도 자와론 때나 맞자진 예전에 못 카페라면서 나도 라차 테즈 말이 신한 정말 쉽지지 톱제서 차래 되니 라차 테즈야
About 4,000 Nepalese soldiers had converged on us, for us to surrender our weapons to them. But, we had decided that if we would not give up our arms, even, at the cost of death. But then at that time, His Holiness His Holiness's advice came in a cassette saying that we must give up our arms to the Nepalese and that we were not to fight and kill. So because of that, we surrendered.
And what effect did this have on the men? This having to give up fighting after all this time. What mental effect did it have on people?
And that tandapado ta shuj zingyarwa tuzu dipado. The DJ layata amazing stinikalo pevwala. And in tap 미창마 가리다식 체여나
네 건강가 배 세고 둥가다 라자 마테나는 자리즈노 강가래와 뭐뭐 예즈노 자체 보레다 자 예즈노 자체서 소리오 말에 마테나는 다 예즈노 강가데 마테나는 다체 배요 사고 요호레즈에서 가서 둥가데 강례자 땅에베데 따담바 백담바 차스 다 너레 소소신 되는 뭐봐 로소솔 맨다 장기 드르게 제기 청웅 중기 타바게든다 깨동기 뭔가 짜기 정하지든다 레스 디디콜 다 둥가야 다 가서 둥가 똑때 마세 둥가 쳐보초티 이 자요 말에 이즈노 북가데 니 가서 라세테셰 때그레면서 때문 라세네 네발리 가서 다바 때 말에 신날 때 말에 뭐도지 말아는 뭐때제 톱제서 자라
Yeah, everyone was very sad, but not surrendering our weapons meant, going against the words of His Holiness. And His Holiness, there was nothing dearer to us than His Holiness, so we had to give up our arms. And when that happened, about 10 to 15 of our men, in desperation, some of them killed themselves, by hanging, by, drowning, and by shooting themselves. We suffered a lot, but we were helpless as it was the word of His Holiness.
And Akula, what did you do then?
Any Akula karichung na le DJ.
Tudinga jato oni sal seliuzi. Na nurze za samne nurze sa ngongo Nepal mo jidja gore lachatte punki dengi lachatte ro majini ta cheren pani big sal pulpani masu manda chegun manda chegun manda ni guru che masu manda diezani big sal sin big san sin dinga tsa log mo gono ya to won yu sa mo go chan na tsa guzire nima lonka le nima bingo dam ko mo go chebu ta kedo ni an rogi le masu manda gi anga saje giore dinga danda jini na la cha ma te tsa bu din ja to won only good only tako chaldo je tini jaga silgo tini lonka only se kore tini na ta jaga ti zara.
When I was there at the place called Nuri, 400 Nepalese soldiers came there, to make us surrender, and 8 of us, then didn't want to and fled towards the Tibetan territory. And then taking a detour, we arrived at the camp. and Gyatu Ondu asked me to accompany him. And that detour took us 7 days to reach the camp. And Gyatu Ondu asked me to accompany him, and I did. And on the way, he was shot dead.
And what happened to you?
And DJ ta Gyatu Ondu nyamdo ma phetu kane khong ani Nepali mami gi se sho wa ani agula khanam be
나도 가진 데면다 뭐강가 설문이더니 다다나니 자가 설문이디 자가 그 다다 이나 피토라가제 사다노니 자가 그 되니 관이가 로치도 다와밀 자가 그 이나 좋았어 띵아서 뭔다 뭔다 손이 뭐래 다들라 좋아해 됐든 나 로치도 다와 전이 좋았어
야사자 가wan
피토라가제 이피 사자리 피토라가제.
Then we arrived in Indian territory, a place called Pitoranga in UP state. We were 32 of us, and we were, held up there for a year and 2 months.
Wangdu, does he call him Baba Wangdu? What does he call him? Gyatu Wangdu. What kind of man was he?
Gyatu Wangdu mi khande chigi sungdo.
Oh, Gyatu Wangdu to levi down muchi. Masi tangatu ja ina Wangdu seka ni jima jar muchi kimdi jikan jar muchi. Tangomne tosu ko manda jakhiz to Gyatu Wangdu khiz ni Gyatu Wangdu khiz ku sempoju. Ina 저로서 모모요 자들 그 님이야 모모 자들 마마한테 자또 온데도 빠고고 시리 요때 세후 없어 가르 투나페 마시야 보이티다 자매를 줘서 내가 그런 붙여볼 수 있는 요즘 너무 근데 나서 채채치를 나서 야우만은 전에 되게 대사로서 다든다리 다단가 나로 산로나 요즘 너무 보고 싶어 나루하 거래다 제보다티다 가게 잡아고 뭐지 있으니 다다다다 쇼쇼가를 송거다 야를 보시겠다 다다 고요 마싱하는 데나 그네 자가고네다 지 내가 제다 레디다 데데.
Yes. His Holiness, Gyatu Wangdu was an amazing person, and His Holiness thought very highly of him. And when he was killed, His Holiness said that losing this one man was equal to losing 100 people. Not that he didn't value the 100 people, His Holiness said, but Gyatu Wangdu was so courageous and he was filled with integrity. And when we arrived in India, we had an audience with His Holiness for about an hour, and His Holiness knows my story and my struggle.
Can you just tell us what was it like to be able to tell His Holiness your story directly to him?
Ani aulagi ta lugyu kyanggurum bachela shuya rayorwa chuzu chiksnala ya ani khande dabach chungsuwe sungudu kyanggurum bachela shuya radu gane
다다다 기본이야. 다 맞아. 자또 온디 때 가르잖아. 납증 나난 수하면 아메리카로 로주수야. 이 납증 나줄래 레도를 어느정도니 레도 유아래와. 야또 온디도 뺀 마시게 레카야 볼래. 다 주고 된다. 사 레도를 어느정도 유아래. 근데 레도를 잘 소화가 레도 고모고 또가 라차그 로로서 마로라는지. 된 야또 온디야래. 된 진이가 야래 나서 나중에 되니 나서 파이니 녀리 나서 뭐 나서 절파 되오다 그 나서 그 시고마 정하지데 이거 문담이 하다다 알때 자가야 하다는 거야
I felt very happy. Gyatu Wangdu was trained in the United States in 1955, and in 56 he was dropped into Olitang, and he has done a great thing for the cause of Tibet. And when we were in the hills of Nyarong in 1958, he came there for a few days, and then he went onwards to India.
I just finally want to ask you, as someone who's fought so much, the Chinese, what do you think about the self-immolations that are happening these days in Tibet?
다 아울라기 다 베베 된달이야 뱀마시 망보칼레기야 징여로알 다 테린사 표현알이야 소소소 라야 다 소불 처미 표현들이 망보도알 메파네 디콜라 아니 카리 공규나 시도
다체제기를 다 롱포체고 다 가르자네 미제모 카사보 다 지카르제기네 세구도 약고 빼레데 다 로고 나순다지는 로고 셀치 대제 화진제 도지라 장안된다고 되다 막 자선된다더니 할리 기야지다 그랬지다 롱포다 쳐고 누면서 되다지 기도가 나서 여러 생기나다 나 엄마 저투나 다 고아치 제티 나서 자가는 게도 저 두어라 말에 그래서 서부처부 미제문도야 또 롱포처부 마시게 강나도
Yes, I feel they are very brave to do this, and it's really incredible what they're doing for the cause of Tibet. And as you know, even a little prick is so painful, and we do need people like them. But I don't think those of us in India would be able to do that.
Okay, thank you so much. It's been amazing to hear your story. Really, really fascinating. Thank you.
아니 투지체스 아니 아울라게 루규디 뱀마시기 아니 할레부두 사야보.
And I just have to ask you one more time, if this interview was shown in Tibet or China or anywhere else in the world, would it be a problem for you?
난간주 양교 계제디 티구구여를 단기직 티사레 다른 간주 루규기 아울라 송교디 간주기 잠링다 벼견나 가발라야 템비네가 아울라 강에 요마르와스
강아지 저희 우체 달려 가요 말 강아지
No.
할리는 벨 진도기나 타나라마 달로 가서 통바리 타나로 쓰는데 아니야 가고 오면 아그 장가 문화마 그냥 방에 백가자 난난난 네 집에 강아 쓰 말이야 아니야 가 구시와 말이야 장가를 쪼고데 장가 쓰기야 구시와 말이야 강아 집에 저도 가르치네 제가 정말 벨 페바 페토시에서
Now I'm 80 and I will not live for many years longer, and I have no fear of the Chinese and no problem. You can do whatever you want with it.
I feel that Akula is ready to pick up a gun and go back across that border.
뭐 기삼기도 있어. 아굴라 단독에 멘다시키니 파 산자묵마 파 페서리사.
Here's a...
Yes, I can go with a gun.